Hey guys, this is Turk, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing One Piece chapter 1186. And boy, I must clarify first, I totally did not catch the big revelation here. Um, as soon as I started watching other people's reaction review of this, I started thinking, oh, dumbass. So the big thing I want to clear right there is like, I did not catch the obvious little thing where like, in the last part of the flashback, um, Brook says to Brook brings this up. It seems so throwaway. I didn't catch it at all. I don't know the way he presented it. It just caught me off guard. This is the kind of stuff where like when they say stuff like that, where presentation of like stuff like this, the information with the way Brook said it in an anime or something else with sound and the and the way characters say stuff, you can catch the meaning of something. Brook was talking about a celestial dragon visited our country for a short while, and Kando did not seem well afterward. So they clarify here more, and we'll get into that when the review starts. And that this celestial dragon that visited forced himself upon Kando and impregnated her, and that is Gunko or Shuri. I'm gonna probably switch the names back and forth. I'm trying to say Shuri, but I keep saying Gunko too. Is their child. This guy's the father. We just saw him in the last chapter. He's the one. Here, I'll bring it up. Yeah, this was the chapter here. He threw his weight around and stuff like that. And Brook just didn't piece it together. And then we'll go over that again here in this one. I totally didn't catch it. So, yeah, in the last chapter, he walked in, and then this guy's here. So I was just like, I don't. This is why I don't want to watch things in the same way. I want to be honest about how I don't see that. And I just like really. This one though just totally went over my head when he brought that up earlier in this chapter here. And it's just the only sad thing here is Candle's not here anymore to talk about her side of what happened, because there's gonna be some stuff there where like oh what, how did this, anyways, it's just really fucked up, and I just really like didn't catch it too though when he brought up here. So I'm really gonna be interested when this episode gets um animated. And we'll probably won't see this until the end of next year, possibly though. We're way ahead. That's the other thing too. We're like, I was saying something too. Yesterday in the I did my anime review, and I said we're like 50 episodes ahead because they're doing 1-to-1, and this is doing 1,100. They did 1,138 yesterday. That's the chapter number. Now it's 1,000. That number is 1,168. This is 1,186. I think because of Oda's taking. I don't know. Is it because Oda's taking breaks, or there's other stuff where Oda doesn't always release a new chapter every week. It's like every 2 weeks sometimes. I know I said 50, and I think I was correct at one point, but now it's like 48 episodes. The anime's basically caught up a little bit. Anyways, yeah, based on that number, we'll probably won't see this till late next year. To be sure, I'll be very interested in this one, and the way it's brought up, and the inflection and stuff, or like Oda, see how Brook was just oblivious to it. Also, there's one last thing here too I want to bring up to it before we get into it. This is very interesting here, what they show here. I'm curious if this whole thing going on too with the way that this war started. I talked about this briefly, I think, in the review for this chapter 85. Is this the government setting an example for other leaders in the world government nations to don't cross us, or we'll come invade you and make an excuse? I'm curious if there was like something here, well, how the papers at this time presented this, because also the papers here seem very biased toward the word government, although Morgan's is slightly been kind of rebellious, but this might be before Morgan's was born. I don't remember his age. His age might have already been revealed, because Oda and all the Japanese stuff, authors usually have the names and blood type and everything else that we want to know about a character. And this is about 62, 63 years ago, so I don't know if Morgan is alive yet. But anyways, the papers tend to lean toward helping the government look making, and then like also again he's kind of Morgan's. It's kind of confusing how Morgan's does this stuff with he it makes pirates look bad when it makes the story look better. I mean Morgan's always just looks for the best type of storytelling that makes in a story that an event that happens to make it sell more paper. So now, for example, he's lied about the how events played out that he heard about uh, uh, in Egghead, and he said Luffy assassinated Dr. Vegapunk, and unfortunately, a lot of people in this story fall for that stuff. Leo, the little Tontara who's our one of our allies, is a good example of that representation that Oda uses to show that kind of stuff, where he heard some of that stuff through the when Vegapunk was doing his recorded stuff, and then Rebecca had to keep saying, "Leo, stop believing it. He's falling for it." So, anyways, I'm just curious about that here. There's a really nice subtext here. I like that Oda is going for subtext. Is that the right one? No, this thing where like the way information is conveyed and how people believe stuff is very cool. I like how he does it to say like show this stuff like and it kind of this is interesting too because it leans back into that Kaido briefly with something else with Kaido's backstory and how his king of the nation he grew up in conscripted him into the world government, the Marines, so that they would have a place at the table with the um, uh, reverie, and then he because they were fighting off other people. It's just like these lawless lands. I think they say that here. Maybe I forget where I heard that one, but like these people, other nations, and I think Whitebeards was the same way too. They are like preyed upon by other places. I have a feeling some of these places like Whitebeard's place and Kaido's homeland, their homelands, some of those places might be preyed upon by places that aren't in the world government, just like because they can do it and there's like no repercussions for it. It's a very interesting way that Oda's presenting this kind of stuff about how certain countries are treated and exploited in that way. And I find that interesting. I want to know if the where was I going with this? Yeah, to circle back to the beginning, that what would the government, what would Oda show the government say about how would they say, oh, this company, not company, country was conspiring against another one, and so we had to go over there and teach them a lesson. What kind of less things do they do to convince other nations that this is okay? So like the God Valley one was probably easy to write up. What happened there? The there's a bunch of pirates were saw that there was gold. There was a gold mine in God Valley or something, and something that was value. And a bunch of pirates showed up, and so we had to bombard the place. And like no one's gonna be able to go over there and check, so they could just say, "Oh, we Buster called them. We sent in the troops. We saved the day." And some of the people got away. Like who's gonna check where did the refugees go and stuff like that? Like I could just see like the information and stuff like that being easy, but this one is like I'm wondering how this spin, I think they would call it, on like what happened in the papers and what the government will want to uh, let the people know they're not scared. But then, like I said, the other thing is like, do they um, they're just like the hint to the people like Cobra, Riku, and all their. And this is way back, so this would be when their fathers and grandfathers were in charge. But around that time, yeah, you can figure out. Like I think that at this point, this would be like probably Cobra and Riku's grandfathers probably were in charge, and their fathers were young men. Then they were like, "This is what happens if you cross us." The world government's gonna say, "You see that? You see what happened there? Don't do that. Don't cross us. Give us our payment." But that's the thing too. It's the carrot and stick metaphor. Like, oh, yeah, come on in. Join us. It's great here, but don't you try to leave now. You can't. No, you can't go. No, 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 no. It's like what's that like too? Like mobster movies are like that. Oh, it's easy to get in. It's impossible to get out. I'm paraphrasing my own version of that, but like I was like what happened with John Wick too. John Wick's grew up in a family where of organized crime thing where he grew up and decided to do the profession of being freelancing as a uh, um, assassin, and then he wanted to get out. So in order to get out, he took that deal with that guy who's from one of the very highest prestigious families, and it's very hard. I feel like Oda's just adding this kind of commentary here about how fucked up the world government is when it comes to this kind of stuff and saying you can't leave. Sorry, I'm really reading into it. I like studying this kind of politics and storytelling type versions of that to see how this is going. So let's get to the cover story. I actually want to cover this one this time because it's not a cover story. It's a cover artwork. It's Oda hasn't done a cover story since Yamato's one ended, where she helped. Her and the page one and the other girl are now her friends. Hold on. Dude, I wanted to cover this one because it's really cute. This is like showing Loki when he's really young, and he's drawing Ida, who is, for a reminder, is not his biological mother, but she helped take care of him. She cared for him unequivocally without any prejudice or anything. She's one of the best moms we have in One Piece now. She's S tier mom. We have all these S tier characters. We got like Bellamere and her, and we got dads. We got like Hair Loken and Whitebeard. And so just around that, yeah. So Loki's mom tried to kill him when he was little because he has eyes. This is where I thought there was going to be like a Jormungandr thing with his devil fruit, but he's actually got the Nihog instead. And so when he's little, she's taking care of him. He's usually, I think the thing too, I just was thinking about when I looked at this, is that why he was hanging out at her place too? Was so he really was what do you call it? Liked. I wanted to follow what he was following Rox's escapades and things. But they talked about, like Saul was just saying in a recent episode, or in the chapter it was a while back, about how the papers don't really come there, but it looks like from what we saw in Loki's flashback, they sometimes do. So I was just thinking that's probably why he would always be his excuse to hang out at Ida's bar, because she set that bar at the edge, at the shoreline of part of the underworld, and we would see him reading papers in that one chapter. I remember the one where he's reading the paper and he's like, "Oh, there's no news about rocks," and she was coming up to him and asking if he's hungry and wanted something, and it was really cute. I can't wait for this one too in the chapter, because it like really showed how he was slowly like learning to not be mean to her, because he kind of like he was going on earlier like, "Oh, you're not my mom," and then he's like, "Yes," and she got him some food or something. I think it was juice actually, but it was very nice. And this just looks, it just makes me want to tear up seeing this, how he secretly would be drawing her and doing this other little activities. And it's also extra sad because these are his buddies here that we just saw get hurt by what we just saw in the anime. The Gunko killed these guys and they were trying to help him when he's being tortured, and they ended up being killed. They that's when they try to use his wolf buddy as leverage to say, "Hey, if we let him live, will you join?" And it was really sad. That moment that was a little weird, because I was like, Loki, I felt a little bad for the wolf, because Loki's like saying, "No, you're not gonna. That's not gonna work for me." This shows like conviction. That was a little dark though. I was thinking, just leave him alone. Like, so like it was cute here with seeing Ida and these guys, because they're all. I don't remember there being a lion though, but I was thinking he would have drawn the bear. I remember the bear, the wolf, and the snake. And wasn't there a gorilla? I remember a gorilla too. I just don't remember a lion. But anyways, this is probably one of the cutest ones with the things showing Loki caring. And of course, we saw later Loki. We knew Loki cared because he burned down that village. I think it was his actual mother's hometown, because they were poisoning Ida somehow. But so we know he cares. But this is like extra wholesome, and seeing his buddies and Ida there and while he's drawing her. Anyways, let's get into the chapter now then. So yeah, so we're here at the end. This is the end of that chapter. So they were defending themselves against the Marines. Oh yeah, that's something too quickly. With the Marines, how did the Marines get told that this is okay? This is something that was a nice contrast to with Egghead. You start seeing where some of the people are like, wait a minute, this was like formerly one of our government protected islands, and now we got to go buster call it. I wonder if this stuff happens with the Marines. Think about this. But the ones we saw here too, there was that one moment where like, ooh, you could see these two guys here, like some of them are like, yeah, this is gonna be fun. We're gonna get to shoot people and not have any repercussions. It just you can really tell here. Wow, some of these people who join up don't have the right reasons to join up in the Marines and the Cipher Pole. And I bet this is the kind of stuff that sometimes Garp might be looking for because he always wants to stay. He made that thing about being at the bottom, that metaphor about being near the bottom of the ladder when he, after God Valley. And I could just see how that would be a good thing. Like if you stay down in the ranks, you can like perceive the bad apples or the rotten apples or whatever, so to speak. And so, but also it's probably it's interesting to think about how some of these people just will go along with that and say, "Oh yeah, they said they did a bad thing." Well, do you believe them? Well, who cares? They said so. It must be true. That kind of stuff. Anyway, so he walked into this area after he found out the castle was breached. They were trying to fend the Marines really knew. So that's something else too. Like it's interesting to think about. Like I wonder how many of these nations actually would have realistically their own military force. We see here Asperia, and we saw the same thing with Alabasta have a very sizable or competent military force of themselves for themselves to protect from pirates and brigands and all that stuff. But a lot of these other nations probably join up because it might be like Drum Island, which has a small population and rely on the Marines to protect them. So it looks like Asperia looks like it's a rather smaller nation compared to like Alabasta is probably one of the biggest ones we've seen in the Grand Line. Or well, this one's not in the Grand Line. This is the biggest one overall. But they must have knew that the understood the competency of this of Asperia's military force were good, that they sent in a lot of numbers because they said that in the last chapter. Oh, there's way more people than they sent in, way more deployed way more people than we expected, and it was and so Brook and his comrades in arms were fighting hand tooth and claw, whatever you'd say, to fight off these guys because they knew that not because the numbers were greater than expected. But so I wonder how many. I wonder what Oda would create something like dynamic like that where we understand how many military people there are in the Marines versus what some of these nations might have. Well, no, we did get a good idea of that with Marineford, right? What did Sengoku bring in? Was it like 100,000 men total? Like just the numbers, like not not obviously some of them are way more competent and stronger than us, but I think they decided to have a total of like 100,000 people overall to prepare against Whitebeard's numbers, and I think that did outnumber them because Whitebeard's personal crew that weren't when you don't bring in the allies or auxiliaries or whatever would have been like 1,600 because they had 16 commanders, right? Again, well, only 14 there because Ace was captured. He's a commander, and then the other guy was killed by Blackbeard, which caused the whole thing. And then yeah, so 1,600 plus he had auxiliaries. There was like I think they said there was 47 ships. We have no idea how many numbers of that, but that would So, anyways, yeah, I'm just going on yapping. So here's the beginning of the next chapter. So we start up. There must be some music or something playing here. I'm interested in seeing how Oda's gonna play this out. Because yeah, I think there might be some music or something going on here. That's just supposed to be a heartbeat. I'm gonna have to start learning some Japanese kanji because like some of this always gets left. This is the official translation, but they still have some of this stuff, and I don't know much kanji or whatever other. I think they have a couple of layers of alphabets they use in Japan, and I gotta start learning some of this. It might help too. Maybe I could read some of the raw stuff now. I think that's what Tekking and some other people are doing. They're reading the rough stuff because they understand the kanji, and I don't know any of this. So I always wait till today to upload this because I'll record this because I just wait for the official translation and I read the unofficial too. So Brooks here, this moment to me feels like he's like they do that thing in a movie sometimes where like everything just quiets out and they're like the person's in shock, and I can see that here with Brooke. He's just been out there with his friends fighting for their lives and fighting to defend the people, and now he's come back and he sees the king killed, and he's got this demon thing over here and this other guy there, and he sees Shuri with a sword with blood on it, and he's just like, what? He runs over to Reuven, and he starts calling for someone to come help. He's calling for medics. Here, come help, hurry! And it's just like everyone else just doesn't even move. I like too how he's doing. Oh, I didn't even see that part too. Look at this. So I caught. Well, that wasn't there in the other chapter, was it? Hold on. Oh, that's clever. Look at that. It was not there. So you can tell this is supposed to be I think that's Mars, the one who's the bird. And Emu is using him as a uh what do you call it? There's a word for that where he's like there, he's using him as a launch thing to be there and watch what's happening. And that's cool. I didn't even notice. I read this a few times. I keep missing little details like this. This is really cool. Also, this was something too. I was thinking, what can Emu? I forgot for a second. I was thinking this other guy's here. Can Emu connect through him? But I think it always has to be one of the people who has a covenant. Either has to, the covenant. Someone who has a covenant has to be there, or he has to have the pentagram thing. So he had. Well, maybe he had to do that with Harold because Harold can't. Uh, Harold had the lowest covenant. Maybe it's only with the second two. What is it? The shallows, the depths, and the abyssal. Is that how they call them? I know there's three of them, and it looks like he has to have at least maybe all three at work, but or just the covenant. That's the fourth. The covenant, no, the pentagram. So they're all there watching as Brook is he goes up to Reuven, who's clearly the way they showed it too. He's it looks like, well, they're not showing it well here, but I thought he was showing like bleeding out, but it's very close to like that, and he's like, so he's clearly like dead, and they're just like standing there as he keeps trying to like shake Reuven awake and say, "Are you okay?" And then they make it, they bring him back to Brooke is thinking about the first time they ever met, and thinking, "You can't be dead. We've went through so much together," and he keeps shaking him alive. And I like how they do this too. They focus in on Emu just watching. Like he's so. This is very interesting too because they're kind of getting us these little tidbits of how Emu acts. Like he's very unemotional to everything. He's just like, oh, so this is how humans act. It's very similar. I like this too because this feels very similar to Eneru. We saw how Eneru he's not that old. Like he's not old as Emu, anyways. And he had that devil fruit power, and combined with his observation hockey, he saw himself as a god. And look how he suddenly thought, "Oh, none of your things matter. Only what I think about." And it's very interesting to look at Emu now and how time has made him more and more dull to anything else. All he cares about is whatever his agenda is to control the people, and whatever stuff will hopefully be layers to figure that out. And how he just, no matter what else happens, when else is dead, it doesn't matter to him. All he cares about is his own goals. Also, he does care, like he cares if the god's knight is killed. Cause he said in the other flashback, "Oh, I can't just make you guy everyone one as I please. There's some kind of toll upon his power or how much he can do it at one time. That kind of stuff matters to him, and he's worried about the obviously the return of people, the will of D and the Joy Boys and stuff like coming back. So you can kind of see here, he just looks very like, oh, this is interesting to watch. This is how they act. This is what emotions like. Like I bet that's gonna be part of his flashback when we see him later. Like, oh, this when he was young, he had some ambitions and he had friends maybe, and then something went falling out. That's what it always feels like they're always gonna do. It reminds me of some different movies I've seen where they have people who are friends, and then Darth Vader's a good example. Darth Anakin Skywalker is a young man who's he was born a slave, and then he's brought up into the Jedi's, and he fights in the war, and he's friends with Obi-Wan, and then when that's what something always bothered me, how like when he becomes Darth Vader, like all that stuff just goes away, and he's just so cold and focused, It very Emu reminds me of that, and I just bet there's like a Oda's going for that kind of same angle where we're gonna find out he was a normal person once in time, and and all that other fallouts with other people have caused him to just become this very cold person who only cares about his desires and agendas and stuff like that. So the door closes, and Emu looks like he probably did that somehow. The other guy still doesn't say anything. I think this is supposed to be Emu. It's like, oh, this was an inconvenient time for an interruption. And now Shuri starts speaking, and she's like, Brook, that man's already dead. Can't you tell? And this is something too. And today they don't show this here, but I feel like we saw. I kind of hinted at the last one or something, and I feel like they're trying to show here that they didn't just like have her kill him. They made it into a game. This reminds me of what Shamrock said when him and Gunko her are together when they summon the others to the reinforcements. Like, oh, I know, let's make this into a game. They're so bored that they're just like, instead of just simply like saying, hey, we're here for Shiru, we're gonna take her and just stab Reuven. They're like, hey, how about you two fight to the death? That'd be really awesome. We got time to kill. Go ahead. Go ahead. And then and so Emu probably said that, yeah, that's cool too. Because Emu must have done this because he's like turned him into a it looks like he Domi reversed both of them. And I want to get more into that here too in a minute. This kind of reinforces something I'm thinking is the rules Oda's creating. But yeah, first of all, Brooke starts seeing how she's talking. She's probably using some kind of voice there. Is maybe he's speaking through her? But he's there. This is a little confusing. I'm wondering if he's using that weird wavy line. So I think he's trying to. Maybe that's just her voice is just like that because she's now being under that Domi Reversi. Uh, but so Brooke first turns to the other guy there and like, who are you? Well, and I thought it was a weirdo. I don't know why he doesn't like turn to this thing first. My first point attention would be to this, but he turns to the guy there instead of just sitting there. I guess he's assuming he's in charge, and maybe he's assuming Mars is just some kind of beast that's there under his control. And like, oh, and what'd you do to Shuri? Like, I know she wouldn't do this. I know I've raised her my whole life. I was practically there, so I know she wouldn't ever do this. What'd you do? So Shuri directs his attention back to her and say, Brooke, did you know about my past? That I was a celestial dragon? You know that man over there. She keeps doing this. It's like because she's under his control. I think this is kind of her darker impulses coming out, and she keeps doing that man and stuff. Like he's not my real father. And oh yeah, Brooke even says like, stop calling him that. He's your father. Of course you are. You're King Reuben's legitimate daughter. But she's like, well, do you have proof? And he's like, why do I need proof? The parents. This is a proof. Who needs proof between parents and their children? Which is kind of a weak argument, though. I'm thinking, okay, this kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones, where um, Ned Stark realizes that Joffrey isn't really Robert Baratheon's son. He's like thinking, oh wait, he doesn't have. The way they did that, I think, is like he looks at all the notations written by some chroniclers of every time a kid born, new Baratheon was born, and they all had dark hair, and he's thinking, oh well, that somehow basically if Joffrey not having dark hair like his dad is a proof. I felt a little weak that way too, but he confronts Cersei later, and she's like basically confirms it inadvertently. But I do. So I think that the way he's arguing this is not that good, and this is where I was bringing up. Candle not being there doesn't help the situation. So she continues on by saying, yes, I want proof. I wasted my whole life not if I'm really a celestial dragon not being here, not wasting my time down here. I should be up there. This is the same thing I noticed that Shanks said, but I think he was using it as a he was trying to fit in, and he was there with Shamrock. Uh, this is after this, but we saw it a while back, but it comes later in the when it happened about 20 years ago or so. He's there with Shamrock. He's like, hey, I feel like I need to get up to speed fast. Show me around. I've missed out so much. And Shamrock's like, okay, okay, I'll show you around, but cool your jets a little bit. But we got the same thing here now that she knows. It's this part of her though seems a little odd. Just doesn't feel like her that she would care that much. That it feels like almost odd that she'd say that. But she goes on saying, "Oh, the reason they demanded all those slaves that wasn't really uh about the slaves. No, let's see. How do you say it? Because they refused to hand me over. So I do get that part. Wait, why is she saying it that way? So part of this is interesting is that they must have like I don't know. That feels like they still would have came there. But she's saying if Reuben was probably contacted by them and they said, "Hey, we want that girl now. We know she's one of us." And Reuben's, oh, that's the other thing I gotta kind of go over. And the one thing that's here I forgot to say earlier is that someone pointed out this looks likely that Reuben knew that uh, um, Candle's child hair was. Or he must have known. I gotta say that he knew Reuben. Blah, blah, blah. Reuben knew uh, Shuri. Candle was gonna have Shuri, and that what happened with the Celestial Dragon, and he married her to quickly cover that up in order to not have her honor spoiled or whatever you'd call it and be besmirched or something. And he knew this wasn't really his kid, but he didn't care. He loved Candle so much, and I think that's a great thing. And I believe that he would do that. And I really think that that's what happened. I'm wondering though, like I wonder if this guy hurt Candle so much that she or something that she didn't want or couldn't have a kid anymore. Because I was wondering why didn't they come together and like have a kid of their own eventually. I I don't want to pretend to know any of that, but like it's like maybe she couldn't. I'm just wondering because this is the only kid Candle ever had. Then now that we know it's not really her kid, I'm like wondering what that was about. That was really nice. That it's like just like makes what happened here to Ruben really a heartbreaking too, because he put all this effort into taking care of her. It's again, it's the Kuma thing all over again in its own way. She's Ginny and Kando have a kid with someone they didn't want to have it with, and it's just like they both Ruben and him, they both Kuma, both like, oh, I'll take care of your kid. This is like fuck those people and stuff. Now she's all this version of a Gunko. This feels like the beginning of her Darth Vader arc, her Gunko. Now she's like justifying Reuven's death, saying, "Oh, you could have just handed me over too. He should have just handed me over, and then all these people wouldn't have to die too. He was a horrible king." So they keep arguing about this, and then this guy steps in when you get his name. I think that you should say that like Guru. I'm gonna just say Guru. I'm not good at those enunciations or pronunciations, whatever. So the guy like speaks up suddenly, and we see his eye here eventually. But I like how they were cleverly hiding his eye. So he's like speaking of like, "Oh, I remember you. When I was here last time, you were there with Candle as a squire. You're that guy with the poofy hair, right?" And then his eyes show up, and we see he's got the same eye look as yeah. So suddenly he's speaking to Brook. His eyes show up, and we see he's got the same exact eyes as in the same placement too. I'll have to put an image up here, but there's a spot there where they show the Shuri. If you look at Shuri's eyes earlier, it's the same thing where the left eye is the one with the iris like this, and the oh, what color do they have it in the anime now? They showed it. Now I forgot. Okay, so yeah, so in the anime, her eyes. Let's see. The eyes are her left eye. So it's the same. His left eye is this orangish maroon looking color, and then this one's kind of a. Why does it look sort of? Yeah, my camera's in the way. Right, it has me right in the way. Hold on. It looks here. It's dark. But in the anime, the right eye here on this side is a light kind of teal blue. So yeah, he's got the same eyes. This is how Oda's doing it in black and white. But yeah, this is like orange maroon, and this one's teal kind of. I'm gonna call him. And so he's got the same eyes. So this is where Brook gets a good look at the eye, and it really shocks him, and then now it's starting to like really hit him like, oh yes, this must be the father. The certain characteristics. This one's more believable too. I was bringing up the Game of Thrones one earlier. And I was thinking, wouldn't a kid who has like, well, because in that one it was like Cersei and Robert are husband and wife, and one's dark hair, one's blonde. Couldn't it be possible for a kid to get the mother's trait too? It was like the evidence was supposed to be like, oh, because all the Baratheon sons before always got dark hair no matter what. But they're using the eye thing, and that kind of can makes a little bit more sense. I think I don't know. Do eyes? Well, whatever. That's how it's supposed to be here, anyways. The guy here, Guru, has the same eyes as his daughter, Shuri. So he's like, Brook suddenly catches on, like, oh my God, how did I not realize this all this time? So now he goes into something interesting here, though, and says, normally I wouldn't return to a black backwater like this for one wealth, but her irises are show that she's really has something that's really rare, and the Great One desires her. And while it may not have awakened for me, perhaps. And then he's like, then that's where Emu speaks up. He's still there watching the whole thing through Mars. Like, you tell him too much, Guru. And he's like, oh, you're right. Never mind. I'm sorry, Great One. So there's a couple things right here too we have to really break down a bit. I'll do it briefly here. One, this really does imply the same thing we kind of saw with Garling, who was out looking for a new place for the Celestial Dragons games. They go out here, interact with the locals. In this case, it probably was with Garling. The thing that well, we don't know for sure with this one. I implied earlier that it was against Candle's will, just because of Candle's like her honor and stuff. I can't see her wanting to spend time with this guy unless maybe she didn't see Reuven that way back then. When it came to Garling, it looks like with that woman, you could tell with that woman, she and him had a, what do you call it? It was, not against her will. It was, I can't think of the word now. And then when he came back, she's like, oh, hey, you're back. Here are your sons. I've been waiting for you. It was and then he just killed her. With this one, it doesn't, you can't tell for sure because we don't have Candle's account to know now. But the fact that she never brought it up sounds like it was not. Anyways, I can't think of the word now. It's gonna come back to me later, where it's like both people interacted and made love together without any kind of against the will stuff. I just can't think of the word. The one other thing that this makes me think is that I'm wondering how often this happens where they just go around this. I wonder how many kids might be out there the way we like this, where that are technically celestial dragons, but never to get claimed here. The thing here too is he's coming back to claim her, and this whole conversation makes it sound like there could be hundreds of other kids out there whose father, usually probably most likely, oftentimes is a celestial dragon. There certainly could be points where a woman would do the same thing. Oh, you're a handsome guy. Come to my bed tonight, type stuff. And so, but that case, the woman would go back to Marie Joie. Maybe they would raise a kid there. So it seems more like it would happen with a male celestial dragon going out, hanging out with a woman one night. And, hey, let's go. Let's go back to my place or your place and whatever. So I wonder how many kids would be like that here. That just seems like it would be very common. And then second thing then is there's something here he's hinting at, and my first thought is like, is this a parallel ability? He's talking about something here that makes me first think of someone like Pudding and how Big Mom married Pudding's dad, but only to have a three-eyed child that she then raised herself. And there's something here like so. A Pudding's thing, Big Mom's hoping for an ability to be awakened that the three-eyed tribe's supposed to have to read the poneglyphs. How's that supposed to work too? Is it just like are there, in the One Piece world would there be there probably could be other languages that aren't translated? Is it supposed to be like this? It reminds me of the Tartarus in Doctor Who, and it has an ability that works with the doctor and anyone else who's like a one of his companions, his guests there on the thing. They can automatically just read anything else that's translated. It just they see it what it actually says, and then when they speak, it's there's a translation filter thing that's going on. My favorite one like that showcased that was with Clara when the 11th Doctor's with Clara and they that one episode where they're on a Russian sub during the Cold War. People are like, "Oh, you speak such good Russian. How are you doing that?" Because they see right away, "Oh, you're clearly not Russian. You look British. How do you speak so well?" And he had explained that. And they've had other examples of that too throughout the story. They bring that up a lot, and so I'm wondering if back to the reading stuff, if there's supposed to be some ability, the third eye with the putting in her family lineage on her dad's side, they could just look at some other thing that's not something they learned, and they can just read it. So then now we don't know what it is here though. There sounds like there's something here, and so there's ability among this guy's lineage, Guro's, what's his family name? The Manmayers, that he seems to have, that he says he didn't get himself, but then that they're hoping she has, and it only seems to awaken in ones who have the different irises. So that conversation that we hinting of whatever it is with Guru and Emu doesn't continue in this one. So now we're gonna have there'll be a lot of speculation there, and Shuri just steps in again well, first Brook is like saying this can't be real. This is all a dream, right? And she's like approaching him. Oh wait, that's the part two because he says, that's right. He says make it quick, Shuri. I forgot to say. And so she's approaching him with her blade, and you see the flames. I like how Oda's adding little flames here everywhere, showing like this dumb and reversey things going on. I'm surprised they didn't just turn him into one too. Again, this feels like it's just a bit of a game to him. Like, oh well, we don't really need him. We just came for you, so just kill him. And so he starts appealing to her, like, hey, this isn't right. What's happened to you? I know you. You would never hurt me. I changed your diapers. I took care of you. And then she starts saying, don't try and play that on me. Stop acting so pathetic like that. Um, I want to be part of these people that are stronger than you. And if I go to the Holy Land, I'll get everything I ever wanted. Now I won't have any need of you. So yeah, it just really has brought the like worst aspects of that. I see that. So we have this moment here where it's like Brooks is, I guess, his life flashing before his eyes, and he keeps thinking about all the way she was as a kid, and this is really like interesting too, because now this is connecting to what Brooks says later. Like, oh, it's like he's just piecing this all together now after he's seen Emu and the God's Knights. It's just like something like it's interesting because they're gonna cut away and not show like how he got. And like I'm still wondering how he decided to leave. Not leave. Like join up with Calico. Was it Calico? Oh, what's his captain's name in that crew he's with later? He leaves with them. He joins up with their crew and becomes a pirate later, and puts this kind of behind him is what I'm getting at. And it's like he's right here thinking, what's going on here? Like you were this little angel, you couldn't hurt a soul, and now you look more like a devil. And then he keeps thinking, I couldn't protect my bro who saved my whole life. So this whole thing is just like really bothering him. And I'm glad to bring this up too, though, because now it can really like point out the him connecting the dots. And so the song starts playing over as he's so like awestruck and that's not the right word, but close to that he's just standing there, and so she comes in and just attacks him with the rapier type strike, and then the song's playing over that he was singing earlier about how we're all bones when we die. And so he just falls over there the others just assume he's dead, and they start just walking away. We just see Guru and her go. We don't see Emu / Mars again, but this is right about near the end of the flashback, and we switch over later. He just passed out, and now he wakes up later with his buddies here, and they're like, Brook, you're okay, Captain, what's going on? And then he just wakes up. It's like, so there's something confusing here. It's like they're saying, oh, we we never seen anyone survive a sword strike through a head. And my first thought was, I was trying to look back at this. I'm thinking, did it just go through his afro? I remember them doing this in there's a fantasy movie with Tom Cruise from the '80s, Legend, and there's a spot in there where one of these his allies, these little dwarves, he's being attacked by the bad guys, and it looks like an arrow goes through his head, but he was wearing a hat, and it just kind of went through the hat, and he had a bottle of something there, like wine or whatever, and it got destroyed too. And I think they did that because of like his friends thought, oh, is that blood dripping down his head? It was just the wine. And they did the same thing where something like that, where it's like, oh, it looks like a headshot with an arrow in that case, and it's like, did that just do the same thing here, where it's just a uh went through his hair? Because she didn't know how big his afro was, she aimed too high. It kind of looks like, unless there's something else that I'm missing. And he's all bandaged up later, so it kind of implies it did go through there. But I wonder, maybe it just skinned his top of his head is what I'm thinking. So now they're saying, Captain, I don't know what you can remember, but we have to tell you. And then the other guy's like, wait, don't tell him yet. Yeah, it might rattle him. And so he gets up and he's like saying, no, please, give me a report. What's happened? And so we get a shot of the spirit from the outside, and they're like, we lost, Captain. The death of the king really sealed it. And so I think these are probably some of the other people just like cleaning up the blood and gore there. We don't see any more of the Marines or the ships there. And since someone else told us that they saw Princess Shuri leaving on one of the government ships. So and all the other people, they're already leaving. Like, it's just obvious we're gonna, like, so this is the interesting part too, where we were talking earlier. Like, it seems like once the people realize they don't have protection from the world government, and now that their military has failed, there must be other nations nearby. They will fear, will prey upon them, and he's saying, so his buddy, one of his comrades, are saying like, oh, a lot of the civilians have already fled the country. They're not going to stick around. Uh, and someone is saying, well, what country are taking all those refugees? And so, like, all that, as that's happening, Brook just starts remembering all the stuff he just saw in the throne room and just starts screaming there, and just the trauma. He's just taking it all in. Uh, let's see. So where are we here? That's the end. Yeah. So that's the end of the flashback, and now we go back to the beginning here, and we don't, like I said, we don't unfortunately clear up where he ends up joining the. Because I think this took place. Let's see. We said it was 63 years ago. He was marooned in the so this is about, what is this, 11 or 10 years before him and his crew are killed in the Florian Triangle. So we don't get any of that stuff. So I'm wondering if him and the other soldiers there must have just left eventually, because like I said, there's no, when they talk about lawless, like uh I'm wondering if, like, how quickly other nations may have been thinking, oh yeah, you know that place over there, let's go ransack it and find whatever we can. And so so we go back to beginning, the beginning. We go back to present, where Brook was finishing telling the other Straw Hats this story, and he's like, I didn't even know about the existence of devil fruits at that time. He's going on like, I put these thoughts on my mind for so long, I even convinced myself I had hallucinated. And he's like, but such was a shock I suffered, I didn't want to think back about it. So this part's very interesting too. It's thinking, okay, he went on to become part of a pirate crew, and he didn't want to, him and his other I wonder if some of his other buddies that were with him joined up on that crew to yeah, they probably would have, because they were all musicians. I'm thinking this is extra sad too, because some of those people that got killed with him. I say killed because he did die, as a reminder. And then it's the devil fruit he eats is the one that revives him. But I bet a lot of those people we saw die with him, and when they're killed in a Flooring Triangle, were the buddies that left with him when they just abandoned Asperia, because like it was going to get ransacked by predatory neighboring nations. And so he's just saying, yeah, I just wanted, we all just put ourselves, I'm thinking, yeah, he's probably saying, oh, we just all put that out of our mind and just left. So he's going on to say here, like, oh, I just, after, with the shock what happened, I kind of just thought some of the stuff was just illusions, or hallucinations. No, illusion. Why did I say illusion? Oh, he says illusions there. This is so funny, though. He says that, like, okay, so you left, but you thought, you knew that the nation was going to fall, and you just, like, maybe he just meant, he convinced himself, like, the weird stuff he saw that day were not really what happened, but the king was still dead. I guess it's that way, he's saying, like, there was so much that happened that day, but now that it's all coming back, now that I'm seeing her, I realize this was real memories of that day. And then now this, all, it's like, again, now he's saying, like, all this stuff now all is really making sense. Everything is coming together, and this is important too, because I like how the others are saying this, because, like, even with the devil fruits doing all the weird powers, this immortality and other stuff that Emu's showing is, like, completely different than anything we ever saw, and they're all, like, coming to grips with that too. So now we get this moment too where Brooke's saying, I know this is asking, like, a lot of you guys, but, like, can you help me? Like, if this is real and Princess Shuri's still alive, I have to make right by that day, and and my friends, can you guys help me? And I really like how, like, everyone's like, look at Frankie too. Frankie, most of all, Frankie's always the crier, and it's like, I like how they're showing emotion here with all of them. We got so these are the ones with him, Jinbei, Usopp, Nami, and Frankie, and it's like, can, if Shuri really was a victim of all this, I want to help her. And we get a little flashback. We go back to when she told him to run earlier, and like, she, I forget what chat that was. Yeah, she, like, snaps out of her thing and lets the all the ones we just saw, they were all tied up, and she released her power. And he says that, like, I want to save her. Can you guys help me, please? Like, I know this is asking a lot because you don't know anything about this, but, like, just help me save her. And he even does the what do they call it? He bows down in front of them, like, can you lend me your strength type thing. And the others just immediately um say yes. This is so nice. This, I think we're right near the end here too. And Jima's like, you don't really need to ask. Do you really need to ask? Let's hurry up and break that. And Nami's and the others are already thinking about how to do it. Like, oh, can I just lightning strike it and maybe it'll split it in half? And you got Frankie saying, hey, like, maybe a radical beam will work. And Usopp's like, oh, I don't know if I have any explosives. What can I do to help you in this case? And Brook just, like, he kind of probably thinking, like, oh, I knew I could count on you guys, and he just starts running off. And so he runs over to there, and then that's the end of this. So that's right. There's still a little more in the chapter. Wow, I'm so invested in this, I forgot. There's a little more gonna happen. We go back now there, and so yeah, it's just really sweet how the Straw Hats work together like that. So he's gonna. It looks like Brooke's probably going over to check on her, and she's not far away though, right? Because I think it was Frankie or Jinbei in the other chapter that's saying, "Oh, she still looks like she's okay in there. What should we do?" So this is. I want to stop there briefly because I'm thinking, is Shuri gonna be helping with them? Well, the thing is too, she's got one of the covenants, probably the second, if not the third one, and it's like thinking, is she gonna join with them? Or at the very least, I think what's going to happen here too is Shuri's going to probably provide some information to the Straw Hats about um, the about Emu and what they're facing with that. So we'll go back to that in a moment. So that's very interesting. So now we go back to Luffy, and so he's finished eating. So him and Loki were eating together here to get ready, and then Loki went ahead to fight Emu, and now Luffy waits till he's full. It's kind of like what he did at Egghead too. He ate. He actually did. He's done this a lot. He did this at Wano as well when he first lost to Kaido. The uh, Law's crew pick him up and he eats up and then goes back to fight him. So he's doing the same thing here. Like, there's that new guy here. He's bad news, and he's like, I can sense he's this. The guy, get rid of him. And so now he's just all getting pumped up. And so he jumps off and heads in the direction where Loki and Emu is. So we go back to the fight between Emu and Loki, and now Loki is. Was he? Did he transform when we last saw him? No, I think he was still in his dragon form, trying to shoot lightning at him before. But now he's gone back to his human form, like not dragon form, and he's him. It looks you could tell they've been clashing a bit, and so they're both, or at least in the last one, they were both like huffing and puffing here, and Loki's saying, "Why do you keep going after the kids? You world government folks like to fight dirty, don't you?" And he's like, "Oh, you don't know? I'll tell you then." He said, "We fought you guys 800 years ago against in the world government. We defeated you by stealing your yeah, saying basically we took your kids, and when you try to get them back, we defeated thee." That okay, yeah. And Loki's like, "What do you mean 800 years ago?" Emo just starts like waxing. What do you call it? He's like saying, "Oh, like, oh, I can even after all this time, nature of a certain race does not change. Oh, if we just abducted children, I can control all of thee." Let's see. And so he continues on. "Oh, even though you don't know what's happening, history always repeats itself." And he's like, It's too late for you guys now. You're all just my slaves already." And Razy does that. The emu's, of course, his confidence is just really insufferable here, and I like how Oda sets this up. And then Loki's even saying, "What are you talking about? Stop talking like you're won already." And just as he's winding up his hammer, though, Luffy starts leaping in, and he's like, "You get out of Albath right now!" And then we get this quick shot. He just sweeps in here through Loki's weapon swing, and just socks him in the face, and we just get this great shot here, and I love it because it's basically Luffy punching a god again, and it's just we don't. Where's Loki there? I can't see him. No, he just that's Loki. Emu's hand. So now Luffy's finally shown up here to get a good punch in, and I just like how they did that. And I really want to absorb this. I have a feeling Oda's gonna take the next chapter or two and just go back to Zoro and Sanji. We won't probably see much of what happened here for a little bit, but so he talks about defeating them. This fun part was I was a little confused on. In order to defeat, okay, they defeated them. Okay, actually, we know what that probably he's probably saying here. I think is that they defeated the giants. That I'm just trying to think of the angle there because I was thinking he meant they were trying to have the giants be subjugated back then, but maybe they couldn't quite get that far or whatever. But they're like, okay, so it's like it seems like the giants, though. I think they mentioned like they were the enemies of the world government at one time, and there's a lot of that little hinting of like them terrorize the world government, not the world, the giants terrorizing the new world for a long time, and so now the emu really wants to have them on his side. Basis they suffered a defeat by saving the children. So he's like, anyways, this was a really good chapter of the flashback. I'm really glad how much they went through this stuff with Brook. I like how they're tying this in where it's like a very important to the plot, mostly to help. The main thing here too is it fleshes out Brook, but also it helps flesh out what the stuff the world government's been doing and how their shenanigans, their stuffed ability to just like think, oh, we can just get away with it with whatever we want. I just hope now we're gonna get something out of Brook, not Brook. I hope now we'll get something from Usopp to help like with his because this is like the arc where everyone kept talking about like, and Usopp's been Oda's been hinting at this for so long. Oh, I'm gonna go to Elbath and become a brave warrior of the sea, and now we're there. But we've been focusing on Loki and the other citizens there and Haruden, and now we got a flashback that had a lot of rocks, and then this one with Brook. I'm just wondering where this will go now, where we'll get something out of Usopp to have this be his like crowning achievement, his moment there. I saw some speculation somewhere like, oh, will he get a special weapon or a power upgrade? I'm just thinking, I just want Usopp to stop being Usopp sometimes out of this. Like I guess that's kind of like him being realistic because he's always like afraid and he wants to like stay out of trouble. But I was kind of hoping to see him just like after this. I'm hoping to see him like be well. I'll stop. Yeah, just being me. Just like I don't know what to expect out of this next with that way. But the all the other setup here is really good. Now we got a lot of stuff. We got to see Sanji, Zoro, and Luffy look like they have a great setting up a great fight. And then we got Brook gonna save Shuri. Now we gotta figure out too what's gonna happen. Right. Oh, that's right. They're showing that Zaza got here too. I'm wondering what's gonna happen with that. The thing too here is they're setting up something too with Chopper. It looks like I was rewatching that episode from that covers chapter 1138, and they talk about the Forest God, and I realized they were hinting at seem to be hinting at Chopper and his being having that specific devil fruit because he said he hit those other Domi Reversi people, the giants, and turned them back into human. I'm wondering if he'll maybe if he goes up against something like this, he can stop it too. Oh, there's a lot here going on. This is like just too much to think about. Like what's going on here. So something else too. I was just one last thing I want to go over is like what I'm wondering if this is going to be. So I was just thinking about like how this is tying in Marijwa and the Straw Hats right now. They keep heading down a New World, and they're heading back toward where Reverse Mountain is, and they're trying to find the One Piece and Raftel. I'm wondering if Oda's tying this in a way with, especially with Shuri there, where they'll have to go to Marijwa, because he's setting up so much else with that. With the Dragon and Blackbeard are both preparing. It looks like to go there, and we know for sure that Dragon that he knows about the Gods Knights, and Blackbeard, depending on what he learned from his father, or what his mom might have heard about what's up there about Emu being up there, he might be preparing to go assault there directly too. I'm also thinking, I wonder if the last poneglyph is up there now, and Oda will like put put it that Shuri will be the one to maybe reveal that to the Straw Hats. I say other because I'm thinking she might join for a while. That they'll have to go there to get the poneglyph, and then so they'll come in there right around the right time to be there when Blackbeard and Dragon's forces are arriving and fighting with the other gods knights. And I can't help but think that that's what he's gonna do because he needs a reason for the Straw Hats to go there. He would probably because it's like he keeps bringing it up like it's like what I want to bring that up for too is because like we're seeing all that, but it's like the Straw Hats are over here in the other side of the world, and they're don't really have a reason to go there. Luffy did briefly want to go there though because of he thought if Evie needed help, he wanted to go there and help her right before Egghead started. But it's like if Blackbeard and Dragon are fighting up there, and whether they win or lose against the God's Knight, the Straw Hats are over here on the other side of the world. I just feel like Oda's gonna try and find a way to pull them over there too, because otherwise it's like, why would they need to bother? We're over here looking for Raftel. There's this other stuff going on that almost might be a benefit to them while that fighting's going on there if they stayed in this part of the new world, because the Marines won't be focusing on chasing them. But I can't help but think now with Shuri being here that she's gonna be like reveal. I have this feeling she's gonna reveal that there's a red poneglyph. The last one is up there, and it would be interesting. That would also kind of prove what the other guy said. The one of Blackbeard's crew. He thinks the government does have one because he used to work for him. But they were talking about that story of like a mysterious ship going around. Was it New World? And how is he thinks that the person on that ship or commanding the ship is doing that to protect the last road poneglyph. Uh, so yeah, this stuff with this dude with Emu is very interesting. Like what's going on with the eye thing? Now we got this other hint. So is this like another race? Oh, this guy, one of the celestial dragons. That's something too. The celestial dragons. We know that there's these 20 nations that align together and beat the ancient kingdom. I'm wondering if some of them were special races, kind of like the three-eyed tribe, where they were not normal humans. We've met these other races in here. We got the three-eyed, we got the long legs and the long arms, and the fishmen and stuff. But most of those nations don't seem to have, as far as we know so far, any members who are celestial dragons. So I'm curious if that's where this is going to go. Where like, oh, some of these other unique races out there that aren't normal humans are the celestial dragons, and they're like this seems to hint at something like that. We haven't seen this guy much enough. And he like shot here looks make him look like he's just human, but I'm wondering if there's something else there with that. Well, we'll see that some of them are not normal humans. Yeah. So this backstory of Brook was quite tragic. I know, and yeah, really lined up a lot of stuff with the thoughts I thought about saying about the going on here with the world governance BS. And I can't wait to see how much more Oda fleshes this out. But anyways, I'm gonna leave this here. Thanks for watching.